Hi, I'm Turner, and welcome back to Indian Hen Outdoors. Today, we've got a couple of revolvers. More specifically, a backcountry revolver. Ooh, what do we mean by that? Something that maybe on a budget, a little more affordable, that you would feel comfortable with. If you're an aspiring hunter to go out in the western part of the United States, you've always dreamed of seeing big sky country like I have. Was something that you could carry for bear protection. We're going to dive into that in a minute of why this may be a good choice for bear protection and why I think it may be a good all-around carry. But first, what is it, and let's talk about it. This is the Rossi RP63, and it is not loaded, as you can see. Hello there. But anyway, there's a lot of videos reviewing this particular firearm already. I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds. This is just a brief overview if you've never heard of this gun by any chance. But it is a .357 Magnum, 38 Special, 6-shot revolver. It's very similar in appearance to some more expensive Smith & Wessons. You've got the rib, going all the way to the end of the barrel. Supposed to be stronger. It protects the ejector rod. It is a firing pin on the hammer, old school. Now, this is a concern for some people. I won't bore you with the specifics because I'm not a gunsmith, but they've engineered this. It is supposed to be drop safe. Again, I'm not a gunsmith. I don't have any affiliation with Rossi. But as per all the research I have done, it is supposed to be drop safe. Again, it's a firearm. You should always use care. You should always handle your firearms as if they're loaded and do not point it at anything that you don't intend to shoot. You've got more of a target style trigger. It is very wide, which I like. This is the stainless version, which again, going into a more of a backcountry carry. We want it kind of weatherproof. This is the stainless version, and I coughed up a little bit more for the laminate grips just because it looks awesome. This is a beautiful little handgun. It is the 3-inch barrel, as I may have said already, which kind of harkens back to the old law enforcement 38 specials that even the FBI carried at one point when they were still carrying revolvers. A little bit longer, not quite a snub nose, but still small enough to conceal. The plain blued and rubber grip version, MSRP is around $380. I paid a little bit more for this, for the stainless and for the laminate grips. It was $430 from PSA, one of my favorite websites, as you know. And by the time I had it shipped and paid the FFL fee, taxes, and everything, it come in around $480. So $480 for a .357 Magnum revolver, stainless, I feel like is an absolute steal. This is cheaper than some other lesser-known brands like the Windicator. And Rossi has always had a pretty good name, a pretty good quality behind the name. I'm not going to sit here and say that certain Tauruses and Rossis have not had flaws. I know there was, in the early 2000s, a run of Tauruses particularly that had some issues. But more often than not, Rossi makes a really good firearm, particularly revolvers. Going back to, this is what my wife carries, actually. This is a M88 from the 1980s, 5-shot, which is basically a Smith & Wesson J-frame. It was actually made on Smith & Wesson licensed machinery. And the reason I had this out is for a size comparison. So if you're familiar with the Smith & Wesson J-frame or the Rossi M88, here's a size comparison. A little bit beefier frame, 3-inch barrel, 6-shot versus a 5-shot. And also, it goes without saying, this one also is not loaded. Now, right out of the box, I love this firearm. I don't see anything that would give me pause as far as quality. I've shot around 150 rounds in the last couple of days, maybe more. And that's some 38, that's been .357 Magnum, that's been some Plus P 38. All variations of ammo I had floating around in my closet. No issues. The only thing that I could even try to gripe about is that right out of the box, the machining on the ejector rod functioned just fine. It wasn't, stiff, but it was just a little rough. If I just turned it like that, there was just a little bit of roughness. And I just got generous with the oil on it, and I worked it a little bit this way, back and forth for a few minutes, and, give it a couple dozen of these, and it, smooth it right up, and it is run flawlessly with me. The gap between the cylinder itself here, it's hard to tell on camera. I was going to get a feeler gauge and actually measure this, but I forgot. But it looks really close. It looks really tight. Again, a sign of a well-made revolver. Some of these cheaper revolvers, the gap can be as big as 7 thousandths, and you get a lot of blow-by with that. This looks really tight. I don't want to put a number on it, but again, it looks really well-made, and it feels like a quality revolver. Now, let's get to the real reason you're here. If you wanted a regular Rossi review video, you could pick from the dozens that are already out there. Bear protection. Let's first talk a little bit about what is enough gun, because these guides, some of these professional hunters, these people that live in bear country or grizzly country, they live their life. It's just everyday life for them. It's a part of their daily routine. They carry things like 454 Casull, 460 Smith & Wesson, 500 Smith & Wesson, 500 line ball. The list goes on and on of these really big pistol cartridges. As far as what is enough bullet, and anybody worth their salt or knows anything about firearms will tell you, it doesn't matter how big a pistol you're carrying, how big a caliber, if you do not have the proper ammunition. And this is really true for, I would say, 99.99.99% of all shooting applications. You need the proper ammunition for the task at hand. So if you're carrying a big, 454 Casull, 44 Magnum, 10 millimeter, and you're using an expanding hollow point bullet, you are not going to get penetration. You might get away with it on a black bear. You are not going to get away with it on a brown bear, a grizzly bear. Bears' fat, their tissue is so thick, and then you combine that with thick matted hair that may have mud and crud and everything in it, you're just not going to hit vitals. And to quote a good friend of mine, not to be crass, but pistols suck for killing things. This same friend once told me, pistols poke holes in things. Rifles poke holes through things. Shotguns take a piece of the thing, rip it off, and throw it on the floor. To quote Joseph von Benedict, the purpose of a pistol is to fight your way back to your rifle. So proper ammunition for bear defense. You need a hard cast, flat nose, hot cartridge. Something that you are selling out for penetration. One Tim Sundles, the owner of Buffalo Bore Cartridges, he preaches it, that flat nose, hard cast bullet, because a round nose bullet, like, let's look at one. If I can get the box open. All right, so here's a flat nose, soft nose bullet, and here is a round nose bullet. You can see here. That round nose bullet, when it hits bone or something hard, it will deflect. It will actually turn and go heaven knows where. That flat nose bullet is just going to keep penetrating and keep pushing and keep punching through things, and that's what you need for bear protection. There's been several stories of, there was one story in particular. I believe it was a Alaskan state trooper or with Fish and Game. I don't remember which it was, but their service weapon at the time, I believe this was in the late 80s, was .357 Magnums, and he had, I assume, hollow points in it, not hard cast, and he was charged by a grizzly. And he emptied his revolver, Smith & Wesson revolver, 4 of which struck the bear, and four of these rounds actually stuck in the bear's skin, and they didn't go any further, didn't penetrate the grizzly. The 5th shot missed, and the final shot, he was fortunate enough at very close range that he hit the bear in the throat and killed it instantly. It broke the spine. But point being that if you're carrying a big enough, air quote, cartridge for bear defense, but it is a expanding bullet, it's more than likely going to get hung up in that hide, and it's not going to do the job. Now, I'm a big advocate of shooting what you are comfortable with. If you're carrying a big 454 Casull, but you can't physically handle the recoil of it, and you can't get on target, and you flinch because the concussion and the recoil is so bad, that gun is no use to you. You're not going to hit anything. Doesn't matter how powerful it is. So I would say shooting the biggest caliber with the proper ammunition that you can handle is probably the way to go. Now, 357 Magnum, master guide Phil Shoemaker, who quite famously killed a grizzly bear with a 9mm, again using hard cast buffalo bore, 147 grain, using proper ammo. He pulled this off. I'm not saying carry a 9mm. If it's all you got, please put the proper ammo in it. But point being, he carried a 357 Magnum for most of his career. That or a 44 Magnum. So a 357 Magnum, and I'm going to shoot a 180 grain hard cast flat nose bullet from buffalo bore. That's what I'll be shooting out of this. It is the bare minimum, no pun intended. I'm going to use this analogy, and I use this analogy a lot. If I am fortunate, I'm going to go out west hunting probably every other year, if I am lucky. It doesn't make sense for me to spend $1,200, $1,500, $1,800 on a pistol I'm probably never going to use. The analogy I want to use, and I use it a lot, is with overlanding, with off-road vehicles. If you've got a old Jeep or Bronco, Blazer, whatever, completely tricked out, you've gutted it to make it super lightweight and reinforced it, and it's got 44-inch tires and a big engine on it, well, you can go to some of the most harsh terrain on planet Earth and drive. But if that's your daily driver, and 99% of the time you're just going to be driving through suburbia, it's a waste of money, and it's not practical for what you need it. It's more practical, again, if you go off-roading and camping with your family, maybe once a month, and the rest of the time you're driving back and forth to work, it makes sense to have a 33-inch tire that are all-terrains. And I view firearms kind of the same way. It doesn't make sense for someone operating on a budget to go spend $1,500 on a really big pistol, especially when they may or may not can shoot it anyway. If I was going to hunt Kodiak, yes, I would get a bigger pistol. I'm probably not going to see a grizzly. I'm in the edge of grizzly country, God willing, if I get to go on a trip. More on that later. Probably going to see 80% of the time, see black bear. The 357 Magnum with the proper ammo, I feel like is plenty. And again, most of the time, I'm not going to be in big bear country. This is a once every other year tool for me. So it makes sense to have a tool that can do other things. And that's where this little revolver comes in. It's still small enough that I can carry every day. It can do everything. It can be my concealed carry gun. It's a little heavy for that, but it could be. It's 3 inches. It's a great truck gun, as we say here in the South. It fills all my needs, and I'm not buying a specific tool that I will never use. Don't go blow a couple grand on stuff for a place that you only may hunt once every few years. It makes more sense to get some more versatile gear and save that money and actually get to go hunting yourself or with your family or whatever. Actually be able to pay for more of these experiences. And I just see in the hunting industry, and it's really good quality gear. I'm not bad mouthing some of these companies, but it just doesn't make sense to spend $300 on a jacket that you're gonna go on a trip one time and wear, and then it's gonna hang in your closet. So I believe 357 Magnum will suffice for bear protection with proper ammo. Are there bigger, badder cartridges? Sure. Can most people shoot those guns accurately and it not come out of their hand or hit them upside the head? Probably not. Now, as far as a backcountry pistol, we've checked the box. We've got a stainless version. It's weatherproof. They do make some Cerakote versions that are a little cheaper. We've got enough caliber, as we've touched on. And we're carrying a revolver. And I'm of the old school mentality. I think a revolver is better suited. Now, again, if you shoot a semi-auto, a Glock, a 1911, whatever, if you shoot that gun and you are just a dead eye, just a crack shot with it, get the proper ammo and use that firearm, whether it's 45 ACP, 10 mil, whatever. But for me, one, I like revolvers in general. I'm more comfortable with them, but I just feel like they're a better suited weapon for bear defense, for the main reason being it's the same reason. And again, if you're comfortable with something, you can train to overcome certain weaknesses, we'll say. I don't like using the word weaknesses, but certain differences in firearms, if you're aware of them and you train with them, you can overcome that. You're aware of it. But the reason that I carry revolvers, and I think they're better for bear protection, it's the same reason my wife carries this revolver. I think it's better for ladies to carry for self-defense, is if you press the barrel, the front of your pistol against something, and it is a semi-auto, whatever that is, Glock, Smith, 1911, you will knock it out of battery. And it will not go off. There was actually an instance where a gentleman was attacked and actually kind of run over by a black bear, and it's chewing on him, and he was carrying a 10 millimeter semi-auto, had it up against the bear's head, and it was knocked out of battery, click, didn't go off, and he had to find a way to get his other hand clear as he's getting chewed on to re-rack it and end up shooting that bear. He did survive. He was in rough shape. Revolvers, they go off. It does not matter. Anything man-made can fail, but I feel like, again, this specific task, this is a better tool for that. It's the same reason that I tell people, if they're comfortable with it, ladies, that's why I say, if somebody grabs you and you're in a bad situation, someone's trying to overpower you, you don't have to worry about this being pressed against something. It will go off. I don't want to come off as I'm some sort of Western expert. I'm from Mississippi. The information I'm relaying to you and why I think this firearm is a good budget carry and it can do what I need it to do is listening to the information from guys that have done it. And they know what they're talking about and they've been in these situations. Guys like Tim Sundles, the owner of Buffalo Bore Cartridges. Guys like Ron Spomer, Joseph Von Benedict, Master Guide Phil Shoemaker. There was a guy on those shows recently, and I'll put his name on the screen. His name escapes me. But guys like that have been there, done it, and can explain why and what you need for that particular application. Now, really quickly, as I said in the title, 3 reasons to buy this revolver. It's affordable. That's number 1. Number 2, it is great quality for the price. Number 3, it's a 357. A lot of these cheaper revolvers are only chambered in 38 special. The only reason I have not to buy this, my one reason not to buy is not even not to buy the firearm at all. It's if I was carrying this all the time, I'm going to put up with it, and I'm going to train with it and be careful just because I've already bought it. But if I was in a lot of wet, nasty conditions. It might be really cold, it might be rainy. I would get the stainless with the rubber grips, or if I was going, and I may still do this, if I was going to be in one of those situations, I would pop these off and I would get a set of rubber grips for it, because with a hot 357 load, it's a little hard to hang on to. It's a little slick. Any kind of moisture, or if you get a little too overzealous with your cleaning, it's a little slick. It looks great. I love it. But if I'm out there target shooting with some 38s, no problem whatsoever. I shoot it one-handed. But running these hot loads, like for even these 158 grain Aguilas, you really need to pay. I have to pay attention. I'm having to put the clamp on it. That's my one reason and one thing to be wary of, is that I would either buy a pair of rubber grips or just go ahead and get it. The one you purchased, get the one with the rubber grips, and don't get the laminate grips. Well, I hope you've learned something today from my rambling, but as always, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me out, allows me to continue doing this. And until next time, God bless.